Hi there. So I just got back from the annual Harwell Amateur Radio Society Radio and Electronics Rally at Didcot Leisure Centre in Didcot, and weather was horrendous. So and as a member of the society this year, kind of had to get there earlier and do my bit to help. I feel sorry for a friend of mine who had to man the car park for the first 2 hours because the weather here has been horrendous with storm Cara, lashing down rain and wind, just literally a nightmare, and it's still going on. In terms of purchases, so I had a good look round, and there were some interesting radios there actually. There was a low HF 225, and the guy was sort of prepared to accept £95. And I really gave that a lot of thought, but because I've already got the low HF 150, I know the 225 is a better radio, but I kind of don't really need another shortwave radio right now. And buying another old radio is really, you're kind of buying, okay, the HF 225 is fantastic radio, but you're kind of buying into the possibility of another vintage radio kind of going wrong. Although I know they are pretty reliable. If I didn't have the HF 150, I probably would have done it, but I've got radios that are as good as the 225 or better, and I've already got too many radios, so I was tempted. There was also a Sanjian ATS 803A there, looked in really, really good condition. The guy wanted about 30 quid for it, and again, if I didn't have mine, although mine's a bit battered, I would have given that some thought, because it did look like it was in mint condition. I think if he'd had the box, probably would have bought it, because I might have used it and then maybe sold it on. The same guy had a Selena, sort of analog Russian sort of multiband radio, for I think he wanted 25 quid for that. But again, I've got a Binatone World Star, and I've got my Hacker Super Sovereign, so I've got kind of similar types of radios to that. I know that they're supposed to be quite good, but again, it's not really a radio that I need. And then he also had a Sony ICF 7600 G, but he wanted 40 quid for that, and I've already got one of those as well. So few radios around. There was a Kenwood R5000 for sale for 175 quid, which I also gave some thought to, but in the end, it would just be buying not more of the same, but more of what I've already got, being very similar effectively to what I've already got. So tempted though I was, I didn't actually buy any radios, but what I did buy for 2 quid were 5 copies of the World Radio and TV Handbook. Now I've got a few of these already, but it's interesting. They were basically 50p each, but then in the end the guy said, I'll take what you want. So I got 1976, so that's definitely going back to the golden era of shortwave broadcasting. 81 again, 86, and then a more recent copy that's got the more kind of familiar format, the 2002. So so that's good. So I'll do a little video on each of those. It's just interesting to kind of look at a little bit of the content. But as much as anything else, some of the advertisements, for the radios and other equipment, just gives you a kind of snapshot as to the world of radio back in the day. I mean, in 1976, I was just a very small boy, and it was around about that time when I first sort of got interested in radio, listening to my mum's wireless that used to live on the shelf in the sitting room one evening, and hearing all these sort of foreign voices, French, German speaking, thinking, wow, I'm hearing this person and they're so far away. So I'll do a separate video on each of these. But what more interesting possibly than any of those is this one. World Radio and TV Handbook 1963. So this is the 17th edition, and the format is completely different. It's a smaller book, but this is back, this goes back to before I was born, so I'm really interested to take a look at this. The advert on the back cover, radio diffusion, telecommunications, television, Thompson, CFTH Houston, and there are some other advertisements in this thing. Companies that there's a Toshiba TV advertisement. Wow, look at that, 1963. There's some good stuff, some stuff on tenors and all the rest of it. I mean, this is way older than any that I've got. Any copies of the WRTH that I've got. Here we go. I mean, I'll do this properly, but there's an advert for Deutsche Welle for back in the day. Far East, Japan, Near East, Eastern Europe, Middle East, North America, Latin America, Africa, Madagascar. And there's another advert for Switzerland calling. Daily broadcasting in English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, world news and commentaries. So there you go. But I mean, I'll do this properly. Voice of America, look at that. So yeah, so this is a really interesting one. So there you go, World Radio and TV Handbook 1963. So all of those purchased this morning at the Harwell Amateur Radio Electronics Radio Rally for £2. So that is what I call a bit of a bargain. As I said, a bit of a shame that there weren't any radios to sort of tempt me. Well, they were there to tempt me, but there just wasn't something that really sort of caught my eye. As I said, they were either similar to kind of what I've got, or not quite that appealing. And particularly as the Texan PL 990 should be coming out soon. There's another Texan coming out. Potentially there's an Eaton executive satellite, or whatever they're calling it, elite satellite, which is the kind of the new E1. So there's money to be spent potentially on new radios this year, or at least I hope so. So I don't really need any more old radios. I mean, if I just give you just have a quick look, down here. I mean, there you go. There's a few, just for a start. So I don't really need any more radios. But it is nice to have bought these additional copies of the WRTH for £2. And I don't know what they're worth. I don't know what this one from 63 is worth, but and it doesn't sort of really matter because it's only £2. But I'm not buying these to make a profit on them. I find them genuinely interesting because it's back in the heyday of broadcasting, where shortwave radio, listening to shortwave radio, wasn't niche in the way that it is today. It was a very, very important way for governments, bodies to get the message out, basically, across the Iron Curtain and beyond. So always an interesting insight into what was going on in radio back in the day by flicking through one of these books. So I'm very pleased with that. Okay, well, as I said, I'll do a separate video on each book, as it's interesting to have a look through them. But for now, thanks for watching.